Right now, someone is thinking about what you looked like. They're remembering a joke you made, or a mistake you stumbled through, or the way you walked across a room and felt everyone's eyes on you. But here's the thing, they're probably not. In fact, they almost certainly aren't. Most people have already forgotten you existed the moment you left their immediate line of sight. This is the spotlight effect, and it's one of the most liberating psychological truths about human existence that nobody talks about. You live in a constant state of self-awareness. When you walk into a room, you feel the weight of attention like a physical force. Your posture tightens. You become hyper-aware of how you're moving, where your hands are, whether people are looking at you. You assume that everyone is running a constant internal commentary about you. She's walking funny. He's wearing that shirt again. Look at the way they're sitting. But your brain is deceiving you in the most profound way, and this deception has shaped your entire social life. The spotlight effect is the cognitive bias where you overestimate how much other people notice, remember, and think about you. It's not just a small exaggeration. Research shows that people massively overestimate their own visibility in social situations. You think you're the center of attention. You actually aren't. You never were. In 2000, psychologist Thomas Gilovich and his colleagues at Cornell University conducted a series of experiments that revealed just how dramatically we overestimate our own salience in the social world. They had participants wear an embarrassing T-shirt, one with a picture of Barry Manilow on the front, and walk into a room full of strangers. Before entering, the participants predicted that about 50% of the people in the room would notice the shirt. In reality, only about 25% did. Half as many people cared as the participant feared. You think you're broadcasting a signal so loud that everyone can hear it. The truth is, most people are too busy broadcasting their own signals to notice yours. Think about your own daily experience. Walk through a grocery store. You notice nothing about most of the people you pass. You're focused on finding milk and avoiding that one aisle you're not sure about. You're aware of your own shopping, your own list, your own minor frustrations. If someone trips in front of you, you'll forget them in 10 seconds. You won't think about them again. You won't wonder what happened to them, whether they were embarrassed, whether they're okay. They're gone. They were never really there. Now apply that exact mental state to every single person who saw you do something awkward last week. That stumble at work. That thing you said in the meeting that didn't land quite right. That person you made uncomfortable at a party. They didn't encode it. They didn't file it away in their long-term memory under things I remember about that person. They noticed it for 3 seconds and moved on. They're thinking about their own lives. They're thinking about what they're going to eat for dinner, whether their boss likes them, whether they're making a good impression. They're drowning in their own spotlight effect, just like you are. The spotlight effect is actually a fundamental property of human attention. Every person carries this deep, unshakable assumption that their internal world is observable to others. But attention is radically distributed. You cannot see inside another person's mind. You can only see what they do. And most of what they do has nothing to do with you. A person walks by you and you assume they're judging you. In reality, they're thinking about a conversation they had this morning or a song that got stuck in their head or absolutely nothing at all. The spotlight isn't on you. Nobody's light is pointing in your direction at all. Research by Gilovich and another colleague, Savitsky, extended these findings into what they called the illusion of transparency. We believe that our internal states are more visible to others than they actually are. You think your anxiety is written across your face. You think your attraction is obvious. You think your boredom is palpable. But it's not. People are remarkably bad at reading the internal states of others, and they're not trying very hard. They're not studying your face for signs of distress. They're glancing at you and forming quick, shallow impressions that vanish the moment they look away. This has a profound implication for how you should live. If you've ever felt self-conscious about your appearance, your voice, your body language, your laugh, your hobbies, the things you like to read or watch or do alone, this is the key to letting that go. The person across from you isn't cataloging your flaws. They're not reviewing your worst moment and using it to form a complete theory about who you are. They're barely noticing. They're distracted. They're worried about their own visibility their own flaws, their own sense of being observed. The spotlight effect gets stronger in two situations. First, when you're emotionally invested in the outcome. If you care deeply about what someone thinks of you, your spotlight effect intensifies. You assume they're watching you more carefully, judging you more harshly, holding your words and actions under a microscope. But they're not. They might like you or dislike you based on limited information, but they're not analyzing you with any special intensity. Second, when you're in a state of heightened self-awareness. If you're already anxious, if you've already made a mistake and you know it, if you're already paying attention to yourself, your spotlight effect explodes. You become convinced that everyone else is paying this same intense attention to you. They're not. They're oblivious. Here's what makes this truly strange. Even when you know about the spotlight effect intellectually, even when you understand it completely, it still affects you. You can read this entire explanation and still feel self-conscious about how you talk, or what you wear, or whether you said something stupid. Knowing the truth doesn't instantly rewire your emotional brain, but understanding it creates a kind of buffer. When you feel that familiar spike of social anxiety, when you start to assume that everyone's attention is fixed on your worst moment, you can pause and remember, they're probably not thinking about you at all. They've moved on. They've forgotten you already. This liberates you in a specific way. Not because you become a different person, but because you realize that the audience you've been performing for doesn't actually exist. You've been adjusting your behavior, moderating your words, and restricting your actions for people who aren't watching nearly as closely as you thought. The crowd in your head that's scrutinizing you, most of them checked out a long time ago. They left the room the moment you did. There's a paradox here. The moment you stop worrying about the spotlight effect is often the moment you become genuinely interesting to other people. When you stop contorting yourself to seem a certain way, when you stop trying to control how you appear, you become more authentic. And authenticity is magnetic. People respond to someone who isn't constantly adjusting themselves in response to imagined judgment. But this only works if you actually believe that the judgment isn't coming in the first place. So the next time you walk into a room and feel everyone's eyes on you, remember Thomas Gilovich. Remember that the spotlight effect is so powerful that even when you know it exists, you'll still feel it. But you'll also know that it's a bias, an illusion, a trick your brain plays on you because your survival historically depended on being aware of social rejection. But you're not actually the center of attention. You're just one person in a room full of people who are each convinced that they're the center of attention. And that's the most freeing thought you can hold. When you walk into a room next time, you won't be seen the way you fear. You'll barely be seen at all.